Friendship supreme. Friendship supreme. Finding the geek within.
Hey everybody, my name's Michael.
My name's Cleve.
And welcome back to another exciting episode of Friendship
Supreme.
Is it the Macho Man Randy Savage?
I was thinking Big Show, but yeah.
Okay, that works. Yeah. We're the podcast that dares to ask, do you think you could really knock out a man without ever touching him?
With your mind?
With your mind.
Oh, maybe.
So that's how this episode started or was inspired. There are videos and demonstrations that existed real popular in like the 70s, 80s, but still to this day there are people out there that make these claims. But there is no secret that Cleve and I both enjoy, whether it's martial arts or boxing, fighting in general, mixed martial arts, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are different groups of martial artist masters that have been claiming that they have this ability to knock someone out without ever touching them, essentially with force within their body, like a chi kind of situation, that they can throw it at someone and knock them out. And they have these demonstrations, and people genuinely believe that and practice under this dojo and like pay lots of money to learn these techniques that aren't real. One of the
How
big
dare
ones,
you say it's not real?
One of the big ones that was done was the guy that used to, with his mind, he would flip phone book. He'd like flip through the phone book.
Okay.
And so there used to be this guy, and I can't remember his name. Yep. There used to be this guy, and I cannot remember his name, but this is how this came up. I used to watch YouTube videos of him. He used to have a TV show where he would debunk like sidekicks and anybody that said they could do stuff. He's like, okay, well, this is scientifically how I think you're doing it. Prove me wrong. These are the stipulations I need you to do this still same thing in without, so that I know that it's being controlled. And every time, like, nobody could do it. And so this guy got debunked. But anyways, the reason I bring this all up is I learned in watching these like debunking videos of a man named Xu Xiaodong, which is a Chinese fighter from Chengdu in China.
Mm-hmm.
He is an MMA fighter and like amateur at best. Like I would equate him to the same level that you had.
Nice.
Where you fought in gyms and stuff like that, and you even had like actual fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like he's not GSP. He's not.
Right.
I don't know. I can't even think of it.
It's like a hobby.
Right. It's like he loves it and he teaches it, but like he's not in any way like a prized fighter.
Mm-hmm.
One day, some Tai Chi master was talking about how I can knock any MMA fighter out without even touching him, blah, blah, blah. Like, and in the Chinese government and country, Tai Chi is like super heavily looked to. Like they use it as almost like a national sport to them. Like they all do it together. It's very much cohesive, and it's the pride of China.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this goes back to like martial arts in general. We've talked about this before and personally, but like I don't know ever on a podcast. But the reason that martial arts came to existence to what we know today is because Japan and Britain were constantly talking about how weak China was, that they were too big and spread out and too uneducated and not militarized, and they were weak. Mm-hmm. And so they were constantly having land stolen from them. So these farmers that were getting their land stolen learned a form of fighting to prevent that from happening, which is why a lot of their tools that you see, or a lot of weapons you see, are actually farming tools. Mm. So anyways, fast forward, Xu Xiaodong is constantly getting harassed, or he has this guy that's talking all this shit, and he goes, I'm an MMA fighter, which he's one of the first MMA gyms and fighters to ever represent China, like to be in China, because it just wasn't allowed there.
Right.
And he basically said, no, like any day a real fighter would whoop your ass. Like, that's great that you're having fun and you're teaching yourself discipline, but an MMA fighter is here to fight and win. You're there to do katas and stuff like that. And that's what I always thought was funny when I did martial arts as a kid. Like, you perform katas to get your belts and you had to do all these different, performances, but like, it's all based on this person would have to punch here at this time and this person would have to do this here at this time. So like, practicality, not great. Well, this Tai Chi master, he's one of the top 4 grand masters in all of China. So like, a huge deal. This guy said, I know who you are, I know where you live, and like doxed him and just said, this is this man, and sent all of these people to go to his dojo and harass him and give him shit. So he flew from Chengdu to, I want to say Beijing, ended up on the doorstep of this Tai Chi master and was like, let's fucking do this now. Like, let's fight.
Yeah.
So where you name it, let's go. And they're like, no, not right now. We'll set up a time. And then, so he says, okay, cool. He leaves. And the moment he leaves, the son of the Grand Master sends out information. I can't remember what their social media is called, but I don't know if you know this. China can't have Twitter. They don't have Facebook. They're not allowed to. They have one specific government-run social media that they're allowed. And he went on this. What? It's not TikTok. I don't remember. It's basically like Facebook for them, if I remember correctly. But anyways, like, they have their own version of YouTube that we don't like. They're not allowed to have social media from outside of China. And he goes on there and he's like, oh yeah, this guy, this MMA fighter came over and he had to concede and told my dad that he wouldn't fight him. He was too scared. And so then, like, students from over here are going to him and harassing him. Like, I saw videos of this guy getting like 5 or 6 people coming up to him like, hey, we're going to whoop your ass now. And he's like, no, this isn't how we do this. Like, a ring. Yes, let's do it in a ring right now.
Right.
But anyways, so for the last 9 to 10 years, this man has openly invited every single person that considers them to be a grandmaster of their martial arts and said, name the place, name the time, I will be there and I will fight you. And he's been dethroning grandmasters through the whole entire country of China. And China's freaking the fuck out about it. Like,
what's funny is because that means you gotta just stay ready for you to be like, just call me.
Right. And so like, he's kind of arrogant in some aspects. So like, I don't understand. Unfortunately, I don't speak Mandarin. So I've watched some of his YouTube videos, and you can see he's got a kind of cock of the walk kind of thing. But you get that from most fighters. I mean, it just is what you can get.
Right.
But I have watched video after video of this man meeting these people that are held at the highest level of their martial arts and just mollywop them. And he's got the same thing he does every time. He sits there, he gets in the ring. So he's fought a couple like Wing Chun, which is what Bruce Lee studied. Tai Chi, there was some kind of, I don't remember. Anyways, like 4 or 5 different styles so far that I've seen. Right. And every time he gets in there, and I don't know if you know this, but Tai Chi, actually most martial artists won't fight in an actual ring. They refuse to. So if you've ever watched a martial arts fight between these the groups, they always fight in between like these weird pillars, and it has something to do with the religion, I believe. So weird's not a very fair word for me to say, but anyways, between these giant red pillars. And it has to do with the fact that if they're in the ring, they're not touching nature, and if they're not touching nature, then the flow and everything doesn't go right. So they refuse to fight inside a ring, which I find kind of interesting.
What about Karate Kid?
Well, they're on like a mat.
Does that mat count?
I guess, who knows? They're touching the earth somehow. But this man, every time he gets in the ring and they say, okay, go. And he just sits there and puts his face out and he just gets hit a couple times and he'll sit there and shake it off. He's like, no big deal. It's okay, guys. Because none of these people have been hit in the face before. And we've talked about that before. You need to be hit in the face at least once before you go into a fight, because if you don't, you're going to get bopped that one time and be like, what the fuck was that?
Yo, when I trained for MMA, I remember they're like, yeah, the karate's cool, but you get hit in that face,
shit's out the door.
It
don't matter what you've learned.
It immediately leaves you.
Because It takes all your senses out. You're disoriented. You
Mm-hmm.
can't see straight because your eyes are watering up. Because if they bop you in the nose good enough, no matter, I don't care how fucking strong you are, your eyes are gonna start watering.
Mm-hmm.
Shit's getting, you can't breathe right anymore. Like you're just disoriented.
It's real
But
easy to break a nose too. It's really easy.
but he'll sit there and he'll take a couple shots and he'll sit there and just kind of shrug it off. And then the moment he kicks in, he's just putting these people on the floor and just wailing on them, and they're coming out busted. And so like so there's two parts of this story that I thought were interesting, or why I kind of want to talk to you about this. So first of all, both being big fans of martial arts, I thought it was interesting that we have seen many kung fu movies, and most of them, especially like Bruce Lee movies, would portray him breaking boards with his hand, this far away from it, and having punches that just knocked people out. But like when watching it in actual like genuine fighting, it is interesting to see like the difference of like just a practical punch compared to fancy pants movement.
Right.
And so from a technical standpoint, it's really interesting, and it's fascinating to watch this man essentially who, again, novice at best. He outright says all the time, I'm not that good.
Mm-hmm.
Him going out there and just dethroning all of these people because nobody else is willing to stand up to the Chinese government. And that's the second part that I find really interesting. This man is met with a ton of censorship. So the first time he did it, the first time he fought one, they disabled all of his social media. They took it all down, said you can't have social media anymore. And so the Chinese government has a huge investment in this because, again, the way they see it is this is one of the number one, if not the number one, cultural export that they have is kung fu or martial arts.
Yeah, when you start fucking with their exports, that's when it's not going to go well for you.
Well, and they say, like, you think about China, they don't want that image of weakness to reappear. And this is unfortunately something that is in Asian culture a lot, is like not wanting to appear weak.
Which I think is funny because that's not where we are judging your strength from anymore.
Right.
So you're still holding on to this old way that nobody else is caring about.
Right.
I guess I wouldn't want anybody seeing my country as weak, but they've seen my country as crazy. So
very fair.
I guess crazy. I guess crazy is not weak.
Crazy is not weak, and unfortunately, we still have a lot more weapons.
Yeah.
It's silly, but at the same time, like the reasoning behind it is like the idea that when you think of China, I guess, and here's what's interesting to me, I would tell you the average person doesn't know where martial arts comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they wouldn't know that China has a long-rooted history and martial arts. I keep wanting to say kung fu just because I keep thinking of the movies, but they wouldn't know that like that is heavily rooted in Chinese culture. Unfortunately, most people just assume any Asian culture has some form of martial arts.
Each Asian culture came with its own fighting style.
Yeah, right, like Avatar. It's it's the whole but. So their rule against it, and so it's escalated every time. So after that, they actually fined him $60,000 equivalent for slandering. And what's interesting is I watched a later interview about this, but he essentially was like, Tai Chi is non-combative and is essentially for old people who just want to keep their bones limber. And they took that audio and superimposed it over one of the head leaders of the military who was doing Tai Chi at the moment for a TV show and said, "Oh yeah, look what he's saying about this leader," and charged him $60,000 for it. Then they said, if you want to continue fighting, the only way we're going to allow you to do this is if you wear traditional Chinese theater makeup and look like a clown, essentially, to them.
So it's a really weird request.
they smear makeup all over him and essentially said, we don't want people to recognize that you're actually from China. We don't want them to associate you with us. So
That's almost worse.
Yeah.
I would want you to know that you're. Look, we got this guy at least.
They smeared him with makeup. Okay. Then, because there's another time he wears makeup, and a lot of YouTubers are getting this part confused because they talk about this and they're all, talking about the repercussions and stuff. But what's interesting is, so they confuse this moment where they make him wear this makeup from theater to another time where he fight. And in one of his more recent fights, he fought in Thailand, where he had to fight in Thailand because they won't let him fight in China anymore. When he went to Thailand, they said the Chinese film studio or film company that was there that wanted to record the fight and broadcast it said they're not going to let us broadcast this unless you do two things. You need to wear some kind of makeup. We don't care what it is. Just cover your face in some way. And then you need to wear a t-shirt. Chinese government in general does not allow back tattoos. This man has a whole entire artwork done on his back.
Yeah, that country is really, they look down on, and Japan I feel like look down on the tattoo.
Japan I think was more towards the organized crime because it was like a symbol of that, but like China is just I don't know. I mean, I'm not one to speak ill of another country. They're very strict about a lot of things, and the way they treat some people is insane. The whole Hong Kong thing's crazy. In fact, at one point he speaks out against the Hong Kong thing, and all he said was that like let these people from Hong Kong have a voice, and they're not rioting. He goes, I'm living here right now. It's peaceful, despite what media says. And they then knocked down his social score so low that for his next fight he couldn't fly, let alone take a speed train. He actually had to take a 38-hour bus ride because your social score depends on whether or not you can do certain things within their country.
Right.
And they knocked it down, and it was A, part of because he spoke out against what was going on in Hong Kong, and then B, because he was again fighting another grandmaster. But his most recent fight that I can find is him fighting a kickboxer in Bangkok. He's a Japanese kickboxer who held a title at one point. He was the Japanese heavyweight champion in kickboxing, and the way they did it was the first round was only kickboxing rules, second and third round were MMA rules, and the first round he held his own. It was a good fight. To him, he wanted this fight more than anything else because he thought if he fought this fight he would legitimize himself as a fighter. And so he did it, and the second and third round when they went to MMA fight, I mean, he definitely kicked it on and went in a whole different gear, and won. However, if you watched it, you would say he won. However, the Chinese government got involved with this as well, and they decided it was a tie.
Fair.
Right.
Exactly. They cockblocked him.
Right.
What's funny is I feel like they're wanting him to cover his face and all this stuff. I would almost embrace that as a different persona. I'd fuck a mask and maybe a little cape just to cover the back tattoo or something, and I would be that icon, and everybody would be like, "Yo, this dude the fuck mask is fucking people up." Can you imagine if he had a Rey Mysterio mask and it's just fucking people up that way? You'd be super pumped about this guy.
What? That'd be amazing. No, I agree. I would. It's it's so crazy because I've seen so many different interviews of him now, and it's a mixed range of emotions. It goes from him just being super angry about what's going on. On multiple occasions, he said, "I'm not fighting for any of you guys." He goes, "Honestly," he goes, "I don't need you fans." He goes, "I'm not trying to be mean. I don't want you guys. I don't want fans. I'm fighting for myself, and that is it." He goes, "I'm not fighting for this country. I'm not fighting for Hong Kong. I'm fighting for myself." He goes, "I had pride in my country for a while." He goes, "But they've done me wrong, and I'm here to fight for me." And there's also times when
it's like Goku.
But then there's times where so the worst thing that they've done to him so far, and it was I think it was only a month or two ago. The Chinese government closed down his dojo that he was training out of, or his gym that he was training out of, and made them wipe any record of any wins, anything that his students or himself had.
Wow.
And so like they just the last video I saw was a live stream, I think on his YouTube channel, where he's just bawling and he's like, I don't know what to do. He goes, I just wanted to prove that like MMA is serious, and I was tired of these people that were selling fake. What did he call it? He calls it kung fu fakery. He's like, he was just frustrated. He sees all these videos of, these fabricated lies about, stopping punches with your fist and like, I don't know. It just was interesting. This story of this guy who was a nobody and somehow is now going around dethroning these grandmasters and just getting obliterated by his own government.
So what you're saying is that we need to run and social medias for him here?
Don't worry. He has found ways to run all of his social media through American and other country.
I was gonna say, or do we not want that Chinese government smoke?
You don't want that heat. Nah, man. Like they've gotten involved in a lot of things. Like there was a lot of drama. We play video games, and if you're listening now, I'm sure you guys know we play video games. Overwatch is a big game that we used to play a lot of, and they got a lot of heat for getting involved with the Hong Kong drama. And I say drama, but I mean it's a serious thing. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. There's just a lot always going on over there, and there's so much censorship by the government that it's really tough to really see what's going on 100%. But I just thought it was an interesting story because A, it takes your love for mixed martial arts, but B, I don't know that I would have ever thought of. He's on multiple occasions said Bruce Lee at his best. He goes, I'd be able to beat him. And like we grew up as kids looking at Bruce Lee and Jet Li,
the one.
and like knowing like this, you don't fuck with this guy because he was gonna just destroy you. And then watching these people that are considered grandmasters in their art and just getting destroyed by a punch, and you're thinking to yourself like, maybe he's right. Like maybe martial arts is a lot more, and that's something that I think is important. Like I think martial arts teaches discipline. I think that it teaches correct form in certain aspects. But I mean, as we've talked about before, when it comes to a fight on a street, like nobody's going to stand where I need them to stand just so I can do something.
Right. I'll tell you right now, I don't think there's ever a form of martial arts where my hands won't be right here where I can cover my face. Right. They'll never be out here ready to go. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and so I watched it. I mean, I've watched like probably like 15 hours of these videos now, man, at this point. Like I've watched so many videos of this man fight and different people picking it and looking at it and stuff. And some people are of the opinion that he's kind of wrong for doing what he's doing because he's fighting these people and could easily kill some of these people because a lot of them are older, like 50s ish.
Yeah.
60s, like older guys because they're grandmasters, like they've been around forever. But at the same time, also a lot of their stances are like, it's fucking Tai Chi. I think you've seen people at Tai Chi. They're like this stance. I'm like, what is this gonna fucking do for you? Not shit.
Nothing to a jab.
And then again, yeah, I mean, and I've watched this man dome sock several old ass people and them just hit the ground. And I mean, we're talking, he's like 40s.
Okay, so I mean
40s to 50s. Let me see what his actual age is because I want to say he started doing this at like 40. He's 41.
I like at 40, you're like, send me who you got. I'm gonna fuck people up.
And that's just it, man. He's not in the best shape. He said multiple times, like he's just an average guy. But like he just loves it so much that like he wanted to start doing this with these people. And it's just crazy to me. Like,
dog, I would never think of fighting somebody at 40. I don't think I'm fighting somebody now. And he's like, bring me your best. Let me whoop the ass.
To give you an idea of like how serious they're taking it, the Wushu Association in China has now banned anybody in their anybody within their form or their schools of calling themselves a master. because they don't want someone being a wushu master going out and fighting him and getting his ass whooped.
Who's here the master? Like,
right. So they've just said, like, it was last July that they're like, nobody's allowed to be called a master anymore. There is no such thing.
That's even shittier because that is like, I don't know. I guess what's the rank under that? Give me that.
Yeah.
Who's look? These hands is for someone. Who I'll take a master. I'll take a Padawan. You bring them.
I was trying to remember the guy's name. He's the Iron Palm Master. Where is it? Yeah, Iron Palm is the type of fighting style.
I don't know about the Bruce Lee comment though, because I feel like he also had his body in like a different level.
He was, yeah.
Than some people in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I don't know, man.
Despite like the form and everything, if I can hit you really fast, I'm probably gonna put some damage in there.
The Wing Chun guy, fucking lightning speed, dude.
Yeah,
the dude was just it was very much reminiscent of Bruce Lee, like talking 20, 30 punches within a certain short period of time, and the dude was just shaking him.
I've always thought this little like punch thing, I'm like, how much power could you put in that?
Yeah.
Like when Bruce Lee would like hit you in the face and the stomach real fast.
Well, and so like as far as like pop culture goes, and talking about how I really like martial arts films, Ip Man, which is IPMAN, is one of my favorite series. There's 4 films, if I remember correctly, all about the master of Bruce Lee and what he went through in his life before. And one of the most iconic moments in that whole series is when he fights a British or Australian, I think it was British, boxer, like this heavyweight boxer that gets in the ring and just bloodies this man up. But in the end, he ends up like wanting to fight again and wins.
So you rocking him.
But like, I look back and I think about it, and it's like, speed is only going to get you so far, just like muscle is only going to get you so far.
Right.
But that's why I think there's a huge difference between a boxer and maybe a martial artist fighting, and then someone that's trained in MMA fighting anybody else. And I think that's why we see these MMA fighters coming out of MMA and challenging all these other people and getting super cocky and wanting to do it. And a lot of the times winning. Now, not all the time. I think technically Floyd beat Conor McGregor, so
they were both just trying to make money.
Well, and they also fought boxing. They didn't fight
right.
MMA.
No, Floyd would never let somebody take his ass to the ground because he knows.
And that's just it. Like I mean, that's the difference. You watch these MMA fighters.
I have to do your style. You won't dare do my style.
Yeah. And I don't know. Like I think that's a great example of when he fought the kickboxer in Japan, in Bangkok, the Japanese kickboxer. Was that like the first round, the kickboxer held his own. Like it was good. The moment they changed the rules, out the door.
Oh God, I almost want a whole fighting league where each round is a different fight style.
That'd be kind of cool. It'd be interesting.
That'd be real fucking cool. You remember Ultimate? What was it? Ultimate Fighter? Those tournaments?
Yes.
What was it called? God, I loved those.
It was DVDs. I don't remember them ever coming. Like I remember you had to buy them on VHS or DVD. That's my first introduction to MMA. Remember
I think we should have a whole other branch of a podcast where we review those.
There was
I loved those.
He was like 105 pounds, like little dinky guy. And I remember looking at him. My dad's like, "Watch this. This is one of my favorite fights." I'm like, "Okay, sure." This little dinky guy, and this fucking huge yacked fucker that was just like, I don't know, nobody I'd ever want to cross. And this dude, the guy goes, go. Because for anybody that doesn't know, this is essentially a tournament that exists where you came in and there was no rules. You fought however you wanted to fight. It didn't matter.
Right.
Like, you did what you wanted to do.
You took your style and you did what you could.
And that was just it. Like masters from everywhere of all different styles would show up. And this dude came out and this little guy came full charge, running at him as hard as he could and just palm to the nose. And his nose went straight in and the dude was out.
Yeah, that's how you kill it, man.
Yes. Exactly.
I remember
that is dead. Like there's not I don't know, man. Yeah, stuff like that was crazy.
I
don't
remember
know.
the first couple, not to super derail your episode
No, you're
here,
fine.
but I remember the first couple were like this guy and this gi who was just fucking people up just with grappling and like a karate. And then was once someone figured it out, they fucked that guy up. Like I remember that guy won like the first three, fucking get a gi and like choke you with it and shit. And then man, when they got down what he did, it was a wrap. Like the guy just got beat time after time after time.
And yeah,
Uh,
no, those were crazy.
it
I
was a good,
remember.
it's good memories.
But yeah, no, I just think it's an interesting concept to think that like, and I always remember growing up I think Kenpo was what I was trained in, or when I went to school for, and I think got decently far within the school, and I would tell you to this day, I always used to think like this isn't practical.
Right.
I thought it was great. Like I learned discipline and I learned, movement and flexibility and being active. But like I have people all the time, they're like, I'm a black belt in such and such. And I'm like, I could fuck your world up. I don't care what you are.
I think that it does you good if the person you're against doesn't know anything.
Fair.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm just fighting an average Joe off the street and he's got no fighting experience and I've got this martial arts in my pocket, I think I'm straight. But again, if someone just fucking can throw that punch, that sweet one that you need,
Well, and that's just it. Like, I
that
don't.
makes his jaw shake a little bit.
Well, and like, I don't boast a lot. I don't talk about wanting to fight people a lot, but like, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, there are people that are black belts and things, and I look at them and I'm like, I'm out of shape, but like, I don't think I fear you. And if you have a black belt, I need to fear you. I need to look at you and be like, that's all right.
It could be hidden. What if they just brought up and jam your nose in?
You're right. You're right as fuck. But that's why I'm also not putting my daughter in fucking Taekwondo or Kempo. At 5 years old, I can put her in the local gym that teaches Krav Maga. That is 100% what she will learn at 5 years old, because that is all about self-defense, and the Israeli army teaches it to every one of their people.
She's getting the Greek Roman wrestling. That's what I think. That's my personal feeling. I need her to be able to fucking hip toss any boy that comes across.
Here's the thing, though. I guess that's fair.
And she goes, wham!
That's fair. Because I was going to... Well, and that's why Krav Maga was always so appealing to me for, like, Jameson, is because, like, in my head, it teaches a lot about weight dispersion and, like, how to be a smaller target and to adjust for that.
Mm-hmm.
I was originally thinking like, no, because I did wrestling, all the way to freshman year, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I did wrestling in high school, or in school, and I wouldn't ever want my child in those positions. But I guess I see what you're saying. Yes, she needs to be able to hip throw people. I got you.
I went into, when I started doing MMA, with no martial arts background in anything whatsoever. And I think it benefited me the most because people come in with a boxing background don't like to grapple or get on the ground. People that come in with the wrestling background don't really like to throw punches that much. And me knowing nothing, everything was even keeled learning process as it moved up. Like, I didn't favor one over the other because
I
think
think
them all equally.
I think anybody in mixed martial arts that is evenly balanced between the two is significantly advantaged over someone that is heavily weighing on one or the other. You looked at the bigger guys like Brock Lesnar, like when he went into his MMA career, the moment that man was on the ground, he was out. He lost the ground game all day. Slice? Oh, Kimbo, yeah, absolutely.
Kimbo wanted to be here. I don't want to go
right. I watched the whole thing where what was his name? Rashad Jackson. What is his name? Big guy. Man, he did the Rampage Jackson. Thank you. Rampage Jackson, when he did the UFC show. You remember they had that show? They used to have that, and Kimbo Slice was on it. Yeah,
I do remember that. Everybody wanted his ass.
But right, and Kimbo Slice grew up as he was a fist brawler. Like he was a brawler on the street. He was what he became famous for. YouTube videos of him on the street fist brawling anybody. Anybody that was willing to knuckle up with him, he was willing to fight.
You know what? R.I.P. to Kimbo Slice. I respect that man so much because he used to just say, I could either come out here and steal someone's purse, or I can come out here and fight somebody and make my money. This is how I feed my kids. This is what I'm doing. And I'm like, fuck, how do you not root for this guy? Like, and he used to let people get some shots. He used to be like, all right, get a couple. Do you feel good? Like, that was it. Over.
I remember watching those videos. I remember there was a YouTube video I used to watch frequently, and I would share with people where like it was like, hey, we'll pay you $100 to let Kimbo knock you out. And people would take it, and then
100 is not enough.
Not worth it.
That's not that medical bill.
You got permanent damage after that. Your head's rocked.
Let me get medical bill plus, and then we'll talk about it.
But yeah, no, I just thought it was interesting. Again, Chinese government and getting involved with it, and it's been going on for 9 years. Like I don't know.
It's wild.
For someone to be willing to just put his own life out there and essentially give up everything. His family doesn't talk to him. His students don't talk to him. He has a YouTube channel. It does successfully, but like I've seen him when he talks on his YouTube channel, and he's sitting in some rinky-dink apartment because I mean the man can't be making that much money anymore.
I would train under him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy, they all call him Brother Dong.
I'd be the fucking guy's corner.
They all call him Brother Dong, and like they all love him. The Chinese people love him. Like the actual people of this country genuinely like really like him. Well, except for his family. Well, they can't talk to him, man. It's like it's this crazy social, like if you talk to him, then you don't get your business, and like it's crazy. Like, and I don't know, that's the military state kind of mentality. Like they have control over everything. I remember working at Disney, and that was the first time I learned that people in China aren't allowed to have social media. One of the girls I worked with was an exchange student from China, and she was like, yeah, no, we don't have Facebook. We don't have Twitter. Like that's not a thing. That's crazy.
I thought this episode was going to be about the people who knock people out with their magic powers. Because I was gonna say I remember some of those videos. Once you said it, I was like, "Oh my god, I remember that shit." They'd be like, and like the person would just fall over.
That's how I came to this. Was like I was watching those videos because I think they're fucking hilarious because they do. There's this
like
it's insane. The best was there was one time where the guy was like, "Okay, I want you to run at me full force. And I'm gonna stop you." And he comes running and just decks the guy because the guy's like, he tries to stop him and blows over him. There was one time where the girl was like, God, yeah, these are fucking fantastic, man. The girl was the reporter, and she's like, okay. He goes, I want you to stand right there. And he stands right there, and he just all full force, real selling it, threw his whole chi into it. And she just looks at him, and he's like, did you feel anything? She goes, no. He goes, so they sit down later, and she goes, well, can you explain to me why I didn't feel anything? He goes, well, I shouldn't say this even on TV, but like you could hold your tongue against your cheek a certain way or cross your toes, and I would never be able to knock you over. It'd negate everything I do. One of the guys was like, well, if you don't believe,
think Peter Pan.
That's what's gonna take it out. I just don't have to believe because that man, I got that defense.
I like that.
I don't believe shit.
This is your whole martial arts, and I can cross my toes. And you're done for, son. Don't touch me.
It's, so the video I originally watched, it was interesting. It was putting a connection to stuff like that. And then you also see like, and unfortunately I'm going to poke at this a little bit, and I'm sure it might offend somebody, but like the religious videos, you watch the people like the televangelists that like, blow air on the crowd and people start falling over. And
you see
people
believe
so that, hard that like
that holy water.
Yeah,
that shit.
Well, people believe so hard that it makes sense to them, and they go and we go with it.
So I watched the commercials. Like I bought some holy water, put it in my purse. I got a raise in my job. I'm like, I feel like it didn't work. I feel like a higher being wouldn't work that way.
No.
Oh, you got my juice pack? Shit, let me get you this raise.
But anyways, let us know what you guys think about, I don't know, all of it. I just thought it was an interesting topic that I came across that I thought Cleve and I would find interesting enough.
Are we going to have a separate podcast where we review The Ultimate Fighter? Or? No.
We have so many different social medias and things that we do, Cleve. Why don't you tell everybody what we do?
Well, if it sounds like an idea you'd be interested in, let us know on our Facebook, our Instagram, or our Twitter. They are all Friendship Supreme, except Twitter has no eyes in the word friendship. All eyes make it to the YouTube channel. You go to YouTube and search Friendship Supreme, and then you can see Michael and I make faces like this one, or that one, or this one.
He didn't make any faces while I did it.
I didn't. I had to be the one to say in this one. If you enjoy anything that we do, anything that we get is amazing. We have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/friendship supreme. As low as $1. Anything that we get immediately goes back into the show and makes us amazing. We'll do amazing things for you, amazing people.
I mean, I might be able to blow over a whole fucking group of people with some air. Anyways, guys,
Full body into it.
They do. It's
see if you don't go to the YouTube channel, you'll never see the face that I just made because I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's
worth
the face.
It. For a brief second, it kind of froze on that face, and it was definitely worth it. Oh yeah, that one. But anyways, guys, let us know what you guys thought about tonight's episode. Hopefully, you guys had a great time. I've been Michael.
This is Cleve, and I have no quote for this because what am I supposed to say?
What do you quote? Bye, guys.